welcome back to another episode of I'll Allow It Nevada, your go-to podcast for insightful glimpses into the Nevada judiciary. I'm your host, Seth Easley, representing the Supreme Court of Nevada Administrative Office of the Courts. When we think of homicide cases, for some of us, our minds go to the courtroom itself, the trial, the evidence, and the ultimate verdict. But long before a case reaches that stage, there's an enormous amount of work happening behind the scenes to ensure these complex and high-stakes matters move through the judicial system fairly and efficiently. In 2017, the Eighth Judicial District Court established the Homicide Case Team, a specialized approach to managing homicide cases from filing to disposition. Joining me today is Chief Judge Tierra Jones of the Eighth Judicial District Court. Chief Judge Jones oversees the management of the homicide docket and has played a key role in the operation of the Homicide Case Team. Today we'll discuss why the team was created, how it works, and the challenges of managing some of the court system's most complex cases. Chief Judge, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, to get started, for listeners who may not be familiar with the Homicide Case Team, what is it and what role does it serve within the Eighth Judicial District Court?
Our homicide team is a team of 4 judges, myself and 3 other judges, and we handle every homicide case in Clark County. And we handle those from start to finish. I manage the program, so every initial appearance is done in front of me. I will do the initial arraignment and any initial proceedings, and then I keep a quarter of the cases, and then I assign out the other 3 quarters to my other 3 counterparts.
Okay, so before the Homicide Case Team was created, how were homicide cases handled in the Eighth? What challenges or concerns led to this being developed?
Prior to 2017, the homicide cases were assigned pursuant to the district court rules randomly to each department who handled criminal matters. And that started to become an issue with the amount of time it was taking to get those cases to trial. So in 2017, then Chief Judge Betsy Gonzalez decided that she would create this pilot program that was actually started and commandeered in the beginning by Chief Justice Herndon as he was managing the program at that time. And they took every homicide case. All of the criminal justice partners got together and selected 4 judges who would handle those cases. And all of those cases were randomly assigned within those 4 departments to begin the processing of those, with the goal of ensuring that those cases were processed timely and that the trial dates were able to be kept and those cases could get to a resolution in a reasonable amount of time.
Okay, so what is it about homicide cases that make them uniquely challenging from a case management perspective compared to other criminal matters?
Well, in the grand scheme of criminal cases, they have the more complex litigation because they have the more complex issues because there's so many more things at stake. So the significant amount of trial experience that is held by the 4 judges on our homicide court enables us to be able to get through those things in a timely manner, as well as the trials themselves are most of the time longer than regular trials. A stolen car can be tried in 3 to 4 days. A homicide case takes on average 8 to 10 days and can last for weeks. A death penalty case can at least last 2 to 3 weeks. So there's a lot more time commitment to the trials that's involved in a homicide case.
I see. Okay. So you mentioned there's a lot more going on in much higher stakes. So these cases involve extensive discovery, numerous witnesses, forensic evidence, and significant public interest. How do these factors affect the court's approach?
Well, I think those are the things that make these cases unique. And because of that, it's so important to have the judges that have a significant amount of trial experience. I mean, there's over 300 jury trials that have been conducted amongst the homicide judges, the 4 of us. And so there's a significant amount of trial experience that enables us to process these issues and deal with these issues. And because it's a lower caseload by numbers, it gives us the ability to be able to get involved in the discovery process, which is normally not done very much in other criminal cases. It gives us the ability to give full trial days and the ability to ensure that all the needs of the parties are met in making sure that these cases can get to trial.
Okay, I see. So it sounds like it gives the judge an opportunity to be more involved and follow things closer.
Yes, because we have regular status checks. We see these people at least every 30 to 60 days so that we can keep our eye on what's going on. If there's a autopsy report that's late, we can keep an eye on that. If there is another discovery issue, we can keep an eye on that. And it enables us to be able to do that and make sure that things are getting done in these cases so they can proceed to trial in a timely manner.
Okay. And so earlier you mentioned that there are specialized judges. So why did the court determine that specialized judges and dedicated case management would be beneficial for these types of cases?
Because I believe that the time that it was taken to get these cases to trial was becoming very burdensome on having it spread out amongst a lot of judges who have other dockets and other type of responsibilities. So it became just very imperative to narrow it down the focus and give it to 4 judges, keep it all in one place. And those judges, again, with the significant trial experience in handling these types of cases, it enables us to be able to be more actively involved in the process of getting these cases to trial, and as well as letting the attorneys know if one of us is not available, the other one is, so we can just make sure that there's an opportunity for these cases to be tried.
So it sounds like the homicide case team balances the need for thoroughness and efficiency by giving judges the space to focus on those cases.
That is correct.
Okay, cool. So the administrative order created a case management judge position. Can we just dive a little bit more into what the responsibilities of that role are and how it differs from judges who ultimately try the case?
As the case management judge of the homicide program, I also try my own cases. And so I'm actively involved in the trials of the cases, as well as I'm the case manager. So when we have a central department, which is my department, so when every case comes to district court, if it is a homicide, whether it's a murder, a manslaughter, it will automatically be assigned to me, and I take the initial appearance. I handle the initial appearance for the lawyers where they go through the arraignment and they either plead guilty or they plead not guilty. Then the case is assigned out. Either I keep them or I assign them out to my 3 counterparts. Being the case management judge also involves I keep all of the stats. Every department turns in a weekly report to let me know what's going on with the cases so that I can report back to because when this was great, I wasn't the chief judge. I'm serving in the dual roles now, but report back as to how many cases we handled. I have the time to disposition of those cases. I have how many cases we brought in. I keep the stats. I'm also the liaison between the criminal justice partners that are involved in homicide from all of our Office of Appointed Counsel, Special Public Defender, and the District Attorney's Office, as well as with any county management that is interested in the homicide case.
Okay, so you mentioned stats and metrics, and I do want to get to that soon. But first, while we're talking kind of about how the team works, how does the team coordinate among multiple judges to maintain consistency while still allowing each judge to exercise independent judgment?
We're actually very, very lucky because in my personal opinion, all 4 of us share a lot of the same philosophies and how these cases are processed and how these cases work. And it also comes from us working together. Most of the time, we're handling our own settlement conferences. Between the 4 of us, we handle almost every settlement conference in a murder case because it enables us to get insight into what may happen in another department in another different case. But we are very lucky right now that the 4 of us share in a lot of the same philosophies. We all have the same work ethic. Everybody is working very hard, and everybody's always willing to step up and help out if another one of us, because only the 4 of us try cases. So if I had a case that was set and I was in trial on another case, one of my 3 counterparts would try that case to ensure that we could keep the trial date and the parties don't lose anything. And the parties have faith in our ability to work together, that they're going to get the same thing that they would get if they were with the assigned judge.
And just to give the listeners some context, what is in a given, I don't know, a good time frame, maybe in a given year, how many homicide cases does your team see?
Well, last year I did an initial appearance on 149 murder cases in 2025. And when I say initial, that means they made it to district court. I can't speak to the number of cases that are pending in the justice court because I don't have access to that information. But we brought in 149 cases in the district court as a team. And so those were distributed amongst all of the 4 of us. We distributed them. We also, between the 4 of us, we handled 26 jury trials. And to put that into perspective, we handled 26 jury trials, but the court as a whole only handled 62 jury trials. But the 4 ladies of homicide did 26 of those. And I apologize, I was speaking from last year. We brought in 121 murder cases total. 29 people took pleas at their initial appearance. We did 26 jury trials, and we also resolved 93 cases.
Wow. That's a lot going on.
It's a lot. We all work really hard. It's a great team.
So the order directs the team to prioritize homicide cases and establish firm timelines. So why are those principles so important in managing these cases from filing through disposition?
They become very important because the parties need to know that this is the date. So when you set these firm trial dates, they need a judge who's going to be firm and who is going to hold them to these dates, but also understand if there's a need of a continuance, what the need is and whether or not that's appropriate to actually continue the matter. And so they need a judge who's going to stand firm with that, but they also, a lot of people like to say it in the criminal justice system, trial dates get cases done because either we're going to try them or they will resolve them if they have a date that's pending where that is the day. So if from a defendant standpoint, they know if this case isn't resolved, we're going to trial. And that makes everything real for them and puts things into perspective.
Okay, I see. Just make sure things are moving along and actually get resolved, it sounds like.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this episode of All Out Nevada. We're always striving to bring you valuable insights and education, not just for judicial officers, but for anyone interested in the Nevada judiciary. If you find our content helpful or intriguing, please share your experience with your friends, family, and colleagues. Your support helps us reach a broader audience and ensures that more people can benefit from our discussions. Thank you for listening and supporting All Out Nevada. So, the Homicide Case Team has been operating for close to a decade now. So, looking back, has it achieved the goals envisioned when it was created?
My personal opinion is absolutely, because it was created to be efficient with these cases, the handling of these cases. And I just want to give you a little stat plug because I'm very proud of this stat. Since the inception of this program in 2017, this program has handled 1,286 murder cases. There are only 186 of them that are still open. So we have actually closed out 1,100 cases, whether that be through jury trial or whether that be through a guilty plea, or there's been some cases that have been dismissed for one reason or another. But it has definitely been successful in ensuring that those cases are being brought to a conclusion in a timely manner so that the victims and the defendants out there receive some sort of closure and these cases are closed. We have some phenomenal lawyers handling these cases so we can ensure that all of the pretrial work is being done. Everybody has the ability to have a hearing if that's necessary. I think this program has been very successful in ensuring the efficiency in handling of the homicide cases in Clark County.
That is an impressive number. So that's it was over 1,000 cases, you said, over the past, since 2017. And only 100 or so are still open?
Yes.
And so that was my next question, actually, about metrics or stats. Were there any other you wanted to highlight while we were speaking?
I wanted to highlight the trial stat because I think the fact that the four of us also handled almost 50% of the district court's jury trials last year is just a clear demonstration of the hard work that is being put out by the members of the homicide team. I think, like I said, we are so fortunate right now to have a makeup of a team where we all share in the same work ethic. We all share in the same philosophies, and it makes the team very much successful.
And for listeners who may not be aware, there's a lot of judges in the Eighth. So the fact that 4 judges are handling what you said about 50% of the jury trials, that is pretty remarkable.
The court tried 62 cases last year, and the ladies of homicide tried 26 of the 62. Okay. So we're pretty close to 50%.
How does it work when, for example, if a judge who's currently who's on the homicide case team retires, how does the team determine which judge will take their place?
It's a collaborative effort. We get input from the other judges. We get input from the community partners who are involved. And then the judges ultimately make the decision. So, for instance, Chief Justice Herndon started this program in 2017, which we're so happy that he took up this issue and fostered this program for us. But then he, along with the chief judge at the time, decided that I should take over the management. So that's how I got my spot on the homicide team. And we've had a couple of other great judges who have retired and once they retire, yes, as a group, but ultimately the ultimate decision is with the judges as to who it is who's going to take that spot. And we have we've been so fortunate to have a lot of talent being brought to this team. We don't have any of the original members who are still on the team, but we have a great team now. So it's definitely been able to carry on the succession.
So I kind of strayed a little bit from there, but so on the theme of kind of looking back, have there been any lessons learned or maybe even some unexpected benefits that emerged from implementing this pilot program?
I think the settlement conference portion of it is definitely an unexpected benefit because when this program started, there was no statutory or no rule authority for settlement conferences in criminal cases. That came later on. And now that we have that, I think everybody being able to see that getting all the parties together in a room, and settlement conferences are conducted in a very unconventional way. Everyone has their own style, but most of the time they get to the same result. And so it's been very, very beneficial to see that outcome in case resolution because originally we didn't have that. And that has also led to a significant decrease in the amount of cases that we have to take to trial because these cases are being resolved to something that is the victim's family is okay with and the defendant is okay with, and we're being able to get these cases resolved. So that has definitely been a huge benefit. I think some of the lessons we learned is sometimes as the judges, we can it's been a little while since we were trial lawyers, so we envision things going a little bit differently, and it's so unpredictable. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely, I think the pros outweigh any cons of having this program, but it's definitely been some lessons to have been learned by the court along the way.
Right. Oh, yeah. So for the settlement conferences, I was actually curious. So about how many cases are resolved through that?
Our settlement conference, we're resolving of all the cases. So for instance, it's so funny. I have all my stats here. Last year in 2025, there's 29 cases that they pled guilty on the very first appearance. However, there was 93 cases that pled guilty on an additional 93. And I have to say out of that 93, probably at least 85 of those were through the settlement conference program.
Oh, wow.
So it's a huge number as far as the cases we're getting settled because it's a phenomenal platform for everybody to have their concerns heard and be able to come to a meeting place as to what the case is worth and how to get it resolved.
That is a high amount. Do you think that there are lessons from the homicide case team that could be applied to other specialized dockets or court operations?
I think it's possible. And as the new chief judge of the court, of course, I've been approached by that. But some of the subject matters in criminal cases is very sensitive. And I'm not in any way saying that homicide is not sensitive. And I got to say, it's hard. It can be very taxing. And the amount of times me and the other three judges are out in the community and we're told, how do you do this day in and day out? It's definitely taxing on you. But I think there's other areas of criminal law, such as sex assault, that may take a bigger personal toll on somebody where I don't think we could put them in a specialized group. And I think there's definitely room for it. And it's something we could explore at some point. But I'm also not a huge fan of just dividing the court up into a bunch of specialties because I think there's so many people on this court who have a lot of different talents that I think having a lot of the stuff spread out enables everybody to be utilized for their own strengths.
And that's something we didn't really even touch on was something that you just brought up was the idea of vicarious trauma. I mean, you have 4 judges hearing every homicide case in Clark County that I can only imagine that can take a toll.
And it can. And I think, we are very, very supportive of each other, which I think is a huge benefit. But it's definitely whenever any of us, are out and about doing, and because we also do the 4 of us also contribute a lot to the Clark County community. And whenever any of us are out, that's the first thing that people want to know is how do you deal with this? Or the courthouse is open to the public and we're all very great about allowing the interns to come in or people to just come in and watch. And then we'll have a discussion with you to the extent that we can afterwards. And that's the first thing everybody wants to know is, well, how do you do this day in and day out? And it takes a lot and everybody has their own strategy because you have to have your own family. You have to maintain that balance. So each one of us has our own strategy, but it is We all definitely know the importance of the work. And I think that's the biggest issue that we all put first is the work and the people in this community who rely on that work.
Right. I'm sure that's a very motivating and things kind of help you keep you focused. It is really important the work just the four of you are doing. All right. So for any judicial officers or court administrators who may be listening, what insights would you share about managing complex or high stakes caseloads?
I think it's always important for anyone to look into the benefits that you could gain from a situation like this, where you put everything under one umbrella and decide that there's a manager and be able to manage that. Because I think as basically we're all, government employees and we're all working for the people. I think it's so important for us to be as efficient as we can and do as we can with the resources that we have. And I don't think it's something you can apply to every case type, but I think it's definitely worth looking at if there's any way to centralize certain things to get the biggest bang for your buck and ensure that the court is doing the business of the people to the best of their abilities and handling it efficiently.
Absolutely. That is, as public servants, that is the most important thing. Make sure we're serving the public in the best way we can. So as someone who has overseen the management of these cases, what aspect of the homicide case team are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of the amount of cases that we've brought to a resolution, because prior to the creation of this program, you had people who had been waiting on the court's version of justice for several years, some of them almost getting into double digits worth of years. We had a case that was over 9 years old before it got to see a jury trial. And so I am very proud that we have the cases that we are handling. We are doing everything we can. If there's a case that has an extensive history, it's definitely an outlier and it's not the majority. We are able to get a lot of these cases resolved, let these victims have the ability to speak and be heard in front of a court that is going to pronounce a sentence, but be able to have their day in court, as well as allow the defendants to bring this case to a resolution and know what the rest of their life entails. So I'm definitely very, very pleased with the stats, and I'm definitely pleased with all of the hard work that the four of us are doing. And I can't be more grateful to have such a great team. Those three ladies are absolutely phenomenal. And I feel like I do need to say their names just so people know who they are, because they are Judge Levitt, Judge Kearney, Judge Bluth, and myself. We handle all of the homicide cases in Clark County.
And just to kind of tie it back to what you were saying before, how long, because you mentioned how long it typically takes now for a jury trial at the homicide case team. So you're saying you had one that was 9 years old?
Yes.
So how long is it now?
We are definitely averaging about 2.5 years, if they're not seeking a death penalty. A death penalty case takes the defense a lot more time to prepare, but we're definitely trying to get it into under 2.5 years to get these cases to a resolution. And some of them, we're doing it even quicker than that. So we are definitely pleased with the work that's being sent out in this program.
That is a significantly shorter amount of time where people are waiting for these matters to be resolved. That is definitely something worth being proud of. Absolutely. So what would you want the public or members of the legal community to better understand about the work being done by the homicide case team?
One of the things, because this is definitely a lesson that I've learned as being a member of this team, because a lot of these cases are very, very media. Like the media is more involved in these cases than they are in your typical stolen car. I'm not in any way saying that someone getting their car stolen is not tragic and it's not important, but the media is more involved in these cases. The media is interested in a lot of these cases. So I would just want the word to be out there that even if it's not something that you're seeing on TV, there's still work being done on the case, as well as even the cases that are real big media cases and on TV. There's so many other things going on in the case that don't make the news, because I think a lot of people get very frustrated with the lack of public information that sometimes they get in regards to a case. But that doesn't mean that no one is working. Like if there is a court date, like that court date is open to the public, but it may not be anything big, but that doesn't mean that no one is working on the case. Like we have some of the hardest working lawyers and some of the hardest working judges working in this program. So there's always work being done, even if you don't see it on TV.
And I think that is a great point to make. Yeah, because especially when these matters take time, things are happening in the background.
And that's another thing I would add is while I say we're trying to do it in 2 to 2.5 years, there's some outliers where that's not going to happen, as well as these things do take time. And so I would hope that I want people to be able to understand that me and my 3 counterparts, we are very strict on these attorneys. We hold them to tight timelines and things like that. So I know it is so frustrating if you are a party in a case when things get continued and things like that. But I can assure you with this group of the 4 of us, it's with good reason and there's still work being done, but it's just going to cause a delay.
Well, all right. Well, I think that's all the questions I had. Before I wrap up, was there anything else you wanted to share with the audience?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity. And like I said, I'm so fortunate. I can't say it enough to work with such a wonderful group of the 3 other women who handle these cases. And the work that they are putting out is absolutely amazing. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that.
Well, Chief Judge Jones, thank you very much for taking the time out of your, I'm sure, very busy schedule to speak with me and talk about the awesome work that you and your team are doing. I certainly learned a lot from it, and I know the audience will as well. And thank you for everything you do for our state and your community.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It is my pleasure to be a public servant.
A heartfelt appreciation to our guest and to everyone who has tuned into this podcast. Before we wrap up, here are a couple of quick important reminders. For continuing legal education credit, be sure to complete a certificate of attendance and email it to jepodcast@nvcourts.nv.gov. If you have any questions, topic suggestions, or comments, we welcome your input. You can email us at jepodcast@nvcourts.nv.gov or submit your topic ideas to the topic suggestion form linked in the episode description. We value and look forward to hearing from our listeners. Stay tuned for more episodes of I'll Allow It Nevada. This is Seth Easley signing off. Take care, Nevada.